Here's your too long didn't watch summary. 5D Mark III users who upgrade to the 5D Mark IV will get much better technical images. But if you don't mind dealing with 50 megapixel files, we prefer the 5DSR images. The 5D Mark IV still can't quite match the image quality of the D810 and A7R2, but it's close, and the Canon is faster, handles great, and natively uses that amazing Canon glass. Our full review is going to take a little while because we have to actually live with it and use it in the real world. But a lot of you are asking about image quality, sharpness and stuff. So I thought I'd do those kind of techie tests first and get it out to the world. We're going to look at the 5D Mark III, the 5DSR, the D810, the A7R Mark II, and one mystery camera to see if I can sneak something in there you're not expecting. Let's see how it does against the predecessor, the 5D Mark III. The 5D Mark IV images show noticeably more detail than the 5D Mark III images. You probably won't notice a difference in an 8x10 print unless you're cropping, but depending on the lighting, lenses, and technique, your 11x14 prints and larger prints could look sharper, and cropping will degrade sharpness less. Raising the raw exposure by 3 stops shows the 5D Mark III's banding and noise in recovered shadows. The 5D Mark IV's recovered shadows are much cleaner, and that improvement could save a wedding or landscape photographer hours of post-production. The 5DSR is about the same price, but it has a 50 megapixel sensor, so let's see how those two compare. With 50 megapixels and no AA filter, the 5DSR is still the best camera for those seeking the ultimate in image quality. At high ISOs like ISO 6400, most people would expect the lower megapixel 5D Mark IV to look better. I think the extra detail of the 5DSR image looks better, and I can increase the noise reduction to trade some of that detail for lower noise. Testing the dynamic range, the 5D Mark IV had noticeably cleaner shadows when recovered 3 stops. However, because the 5DSR captures extra detail, you can easily raise the noise reduction to get a cleaner image with similar detail levels. In summary, if you don't mind dealing with 50 megapixel files, the 5DSR images are better. However, even with a top-end computer, Lightroom is painfully slow at processing those huge files, and for that reason, we'll steer wedding and portrait photographers who process thousands of images a week to the 5D Mark IV. Of course, there's a lot more differences between the 5D Mark III and the 5DSR than the 5D Mark IV. It has better focusing, has Wi-Fi, GPS, a touchscreen, and all those things make a huge difference. Right now, however, we're just focused on the image quality. So let's leave the Canon world and see how they do. This 5D Mark IV does against the Nikon D810. As we expected, the D810 is slightly sharper than the 5D Mark IV because it has 20% more pixels and no AA filter. The difference would be more pronounced if we used a sharper lens. Because Adobe doesn't yet support the 5D Mark IV RAW files, we can't precisely compare noise levels. However, processing the Canon image with Canon software, we can see the D810 image looks a tiny bit better, but most people wouldn't notice a difference. Testing the dynamic range by raising the exposure 3 stops, the D810 image again looks slightly better. However, in our real-world experience with the 5DSR, modern Canon sensors are good enough to recover a stop or two of shadows in portrait and wedding shots, the target market for this camera. And lastly, I know some of you are considering going mirrorless, so let's see how it compares to the Sony A7R Mark II. With 42 megapixels and no AA filter, the A7R2 is noticeably sharper than the 5D Mark IV. Like the D810, the dynamic range and high ISO noise were just slightly better. In summary, D810 and A7R2 images look slightly better than the 5D Mark IV, but it's so close that other aspects of the cameras that we'll cover in later reviews, such as usability, speed, and lens quality, will make bigger differences in your photography. Okay, look carefully at this 200% close-up. The image on the left costs 3 times more than the image on the right. On the left, the full-frame 5D Mark IV and Canon 24-70 f2.8, totaling $5,250 new. On the right, the APS-C, Nikon D7200 and Sigma 18-35 f1.8, totaling $1,850 new. There's more differences between the cameras than just image quality, and the D7200's picture is definitely a bit noisier, but most people would never notice these differences. This is random, but let's compare the D7200 to the 4-year-old 5D Mark III, which is still more than twice as expensive with the lens. The D7200 shows more detail, and the Nikon's recovered shadows look far better. The 5D Mark III's bigger sensor produces smoother, cleaner images when shooting at the same ISO, but the fast Sigma f1.8 zooms offset that by allowing you to use lower ISOs in low-light conditions. Subscribe to see our full review of the 2 Sigma lenses to see if they really do let APS-C bodies get full-frame results. Hope this was helpful. If you want to pre-order, go to sdp.io/5d4. We'll have our full reviews coming up soon, including all the stuff that matters way more than just sharpness and dynamic range and stuff. Subscribe to see that. Give me a like, share. Bye.